And with me today, we have JJ Smith.
Nice.
How are you?
I'm great. Good to see you, Mike.
Good to see you. You do Reiki.
Yep.
And you are also a spiritual medium.
That's right.
Great. Well, tell me a little bit about Reiki first.
So Reiki is energy work, and what happens is you have chakras that run down the center of your body, and when those become blocked, it puts you in a position that you don't have good energetic flow up into the universe or down into the ground, which is what helps you stay grounded. And so how I got interested in Reiki is I've studied energy since 2005. And in 2013, I ran across a guy at a party who normally has, he's usually a pretty standoffish kind of person. And he was like so vivacious and open and really a side of him I had not seen before. And I said, "What in the world are you doing?" Right? And he said, "Oh, I'm becoming a Reiki Master. I've been going through all these classes." And I said, what is that? Like, you can do it to yourself? And he was like, "Oh yeah, I do Reiki on myself all the time." And I thought to myself, well, if you can do Reiki on yourself, I want to know how to do that. So I got hooked up with who his instructor was and went through all of the training on all of the courses. And in fact, she said that she was like, "Oh, you went through it faster than anybody else." But I was one of those, I'm like a dog with a bone, right? Like when I decide I'm going to do something, I'm like, let's learn it all. And so yeah, I've been a certified Reiki Master since 2013.
And then spiritual medium. Let me ask you this, because all I really know about spiritual medium, I do know that there are several different types. Which category do you fall?
Initially, before I even knew what this was, right, is clairsentient. So that's if you can feel. Okay. Exactly. And so my whole life, I knew I had something, but I just didn't know what it was, right? But like the running joke was I wouldn't buy a piece of real estate until I walked through it because I wanted to know how it felt, right? And so I just always wrote it off that I was highly intuitive, or I used to joke and say I have good gut feels, you know, that's my thing. And but then what I started seeing happening is when I was doing Reiki on clients, I was getting a lot of information about them. It is not just normally information that would show up.
How would I know this?
When you're right, yeah. Exactly. And it was kind of like in my mind's eye, I would see something happening and be like, what? Like I still wasn't putting two and two together, right? And if I was working on someone and they had a shoulder that was killing them, which I didn't know before I started working on them, all of a sudden, when I was working on them, I'd be like, "Oh man, my shoulder feels like it's totally cramping up." And then I would realize in the recap after you're done with the actual treatment, I would say, "God, I kept getting this pain in my shoulder." And they're like, "Oh yeah, me too. My left shoulder needs surgery." And so it was stuff like that was always showing up. And even then, I was still writing it off. It was one of those things, I always knew I had something. I just didn't know what it was. And so I kind of blocked it out forever. And then what happened is as I got older and as I started getting more into doing the energy work, it just kept getting stronger, to the point that about 2 years ago, I was doing a workshop here in my house on overcoming anxiety. And I had, 15 people here, and they left. And when they left, there was one person that stayed, and this person was in the emergency services field, and I didn't really know her, and we were just talking about her job, and she was talking about stress. And all of a sudden, just in my mind and out of my mouth before I could control it, I said, "You have to stop doing Ambien or it's going to ruin your life." And she burst into tears and said, "How in the world do you know that? Because nobody knows that I take that. No one, not even my fiance that lives with me." And I was like, I don't know how I know, right? And so stuff like that has always kind of come to me off and on, and I just wouldn't say anything about it. Like I usually could catch myself before it was out my mouth. But that
I appreciate that. I feel a little nervous now.
Don't worry, I don't do it without people's permission usually. But no, when that happened, I was like, that's it. I really need to figure out what this is. Like, it's time. And so I didn't know who to talk to or how to figure it out or even what it was called. And so I Googled, Teresa Caputo, the Long Island medium.
Yeah.
She has her own TV show. So obviously I wasn't going to be able to get a hold of her, but I was like, who trained her? And I found out it was a woman named Pat Longo out of Long Island who's a medical medium. And she had told me that Teresa had come to her actually as a client and didn't realize that she had she was suffering from a lot of panic attacks and stress and stuff like that, but she didn't realize that she had what I call the gift. And she was able to help her realize, like, when you feel like you can't breathe, that's not actually you. That's spirit trying to get you information because that's how they're showing you. One of the things that my mentor and I talk about a lot is the importance of leaving ego out of it, right? Like, because sometimes people are like, oh my God, it's like if you're a rock star, or do you know what I mean? Because they feel like you're able to do something that a lot of people can't do, and that somehow makes you special. And my mentor and I were talking about how everybody, to some degree, everybody's intuitive, right? Everybody has gut feelings, but some are just stronger than others. So it's like how everybody can sing. And this is his analogy, and I love it. Like, everybody can sing, and some people are really good singers. And then there's a lot of people that are just medium singers. And then you have some people that are really bad singers, like myself.
It's like, I said you could sing, not that you should sing.
Totally, right? Totally. When I first started doing a lot of readings, I was like, wow, I finally have found my calling, because I feel happy all the time. And it's like, I can't stress. I'm trying to worry about something, and I just can't find the worry that I used to have. And he laughed and he said, you know what that is? And I said, no. And he said, because you're spending a lot of time connecting to spirit. So to connect to spirit, I have to raise my vibration, and they have to lower their vibration so that we can actually interact with each other. And that's why they call it a medium, which I never knew.
How about that? Yeah.
Yeah, like meeting in the middle. But what happens is, when I'm experiencing them, I get a glimpse or a feel of how beautiful it feels on the other side, right? Like that level of peace and joy that's just like nothing that I've ever experienced before. And I'm a pretty happy person, but it's just a different thing. And so as a result, when I spend a lot of time interacting with spirit, it's like a residual leftover feel of how they feel.
Very inspiring to tell how it took time to develop it and all of that, because there's got to be people out there that have some sharing of a gift, but they don't know where they are. They don't know what it is. They don't know how to get to it.
That's where I was for 40 years. Well, you know what's funny is one of the predominant messages that I see given to multiple people is that when you feel, I think a lot of people occasionally feel like, oh, I feel like my loved one is so close to me. Or, oh, I felt him in the room. That's true. That's not your imagination. When that's happening, the spirit is close to you. And I had said earlier that was one of the surprising things to me, is how much our loved ones do either stay close or they show up to visit or that kind of a thing. And when you feel like they're near you or they're around, that's not your imagination.